All right, here goes example 2, following pretty much the same method that we were doing in the last example. So let's think about how we're going to factor this polynomial here. And one thing I would notice right off the bat is that there is a GCF. So I want to take that GCF out. And so what I would notice is that there is an x squared in all of these. So I'm going to take an x squared out of all of those. Now the other thing I noticed is that the first term is negative. So because that first term is negative, I'm going to take a negative out of everything. And it doesn't matter that everything else is also negative. That is true, but that doesn't matter. What matters here is that the first term is negative, so take out a negative. So I got negative x squared, and that gives me positive x squared, and then positive 6x, and then positive 8. And that's still equal to 0. So there we did some GCF factoring. And then we should be looking inside the parentheses here and noticing that there is still something we can do. This should look like an AC method problem too. And in fact, we can use that shortcut AC method that I described to you guys the other day. So we know our answer is going to end up in 2 sentences parentheses. It's going to start off with an x and an x. We just need to decide what the numbers are that are going to go with that. And so we should be asking ourselves, what are the factors of 8 that add to be 6? And so of course that's 2 and 4. And so we get, and it's positive 2, so we get x plus 2, and it's positive 4, so we say x plus 4. Now don't forget to bring down your negative x squared over here. And that's still equal to 0. So this is going to be as broken down as we get it. Everything in the parentheses is as small as we get it. We can't do anything else with this x squared over here. It's as small as we can make it. So now we can set each of these terms, each of these factors equal to 0. So we get negative x squared equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. And x plus 4 equals 0. And so these two are pretty easy. That gives us negative 2 and negative 4. Now here, if you think about how to solve this, first we would get rid of that negative by dividing by negative 1. So x squared is 0. And then what we would do next would be to square root both sides. So x is, well, what's the square root of 0? It's 0. So what you notice here is that we only have 3 answers, but the problem said we should have 4. And so what's going on with that? Turns out there's actually 2 answers right here. X equals 0 is 2 answers. So notice this 2 right here is saying that this equation has 2 answers, and it turns out there's both 0. So here are 4 answers, 2 of them are zeros. That's okay. All right, so let's move on down to the next part, the end behavior. So the degree of our function is 4, and 4 is an even number. The leading coefficient of our function was negative 1, and negative 1, of course, is a negative number. So what did negative and even give us? Or, we think about, what did a 4th power give us? It was supposed to be a w, but the negative then flips it upside down and makes it an m. So what's our end behavior? As x goes right, what's our right end doing? It's going down. And as x goes left, y is also going down. Both ends are going down. Okay, so there's our end behavior. So let's combine those two ideas where we have our solutions, which again are x-intercepts. So we have an x-intercept at 0, and we have an x-intercept at 2, and then we have an x-intercept at negative 2, and then we have an x-intercept at negative 4. So what's our graph going to look like? So we know that the left end is supposed to start going down. So I start on the downside, come up through this, curve back around, hit my next x-intercept, and then it's supposed to curve back up. Now what? It says it's going, supposed to go down, but if I keep going up, and if I don't come back down like I'm supposed to, well, that wouldn't make sense, but this would have to be another x-intercept. So there's something a little weird going on here that we need to talk about. So I'm actually going to hold off on my sketch for right now, just knowing something doesn't feel right about this from what we just talked about. So let's go to the idea of look at the calculator to kind of help us out and see what we can do about this. So I have negative x to the fourth with minus 6x cubed minus 8x squared minus 6x cubed minus 8x squared. Alright, I'm going to turn this one off. So as we look at our graph, we notice it's left end starts down, goes through the -4, loops pretty far up there to come back down to the -2, and then that starts and turns to 0. But as it hits the 0, it doesn't pass through the 0, it just hits the 0 and then immediately turns right back down. So that kind of clears up what's going on, like why our graph wasn't making sense. But there is something different happening here. It's not just crossing through like it did at -4 and -2. It's just kind of hitting it and turning around. So let's go ahead and go back to our sketch and fix that. So we saw that it started down on the left side, went up through -4, went way up. Again, you guys don't have to worry about that, getting that right on your own, but it is what happened. And then went through 0, and then just turned immediately around, bounced back down. So a graph, that's a pretty rough sketch, but that's essentially what the graph looked like. So again, this something a little weird going on here, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. All right, that's example 2.